Okay, today we're looking at the idea of the power behind prayer. We've looked at the idea of meditation, what role that plays. We've looked at prayer and kind of an overview of what that is. Meditation is, the purpose is to get to know God firsthand. And for some that'll be a rather strange concept. I was reading this morning, actually, I think it was 39 points of the, I can't remember what they call it. It's the Episcopalian 39 points of religious, the belief system. And there's nothing in there about getting to know God, which is kind of interesting. It's, there's, you know, a good section on how sinful we are and how worthless we are, and how important it is to be saved and all of that. There's that system, but I guess that's kind of what sets us apart. Is there's the idea that God is omnipresent, everywhere present, equally at the same time, would logically tell us that the place that we would have contact with God would be within ourselves. Because we would not say that God is omnipresent if God is present everywhere but within us. We would say, however, if, like you're standing in the ocean, you wade out into the surf, your contact with the ocean is where you are. That's where it is. That's your oneness, that's your experience that you're having. And you just imagine yourself immersed in God, in this energy, this creative life force that we call God. And you have the only logical place where you can make contact with it, and that's within yourself. And so the idea of meditation is to become open and receptive to that invisible presence. So how we pray has everything to do with how we think of God, which is why it's important to have somewhat of an experience with God. We start out kind of thinking, okay, I'm in God, God is present, God is within me, I get that intellectually. But we want to make a transition into where we go from a thinking, from a logical concept, to I know that this is true. So wherever I am, God is. I said a couple of weeks ago, you know, we are trained to think of life as this form. When we're looking for life in outer space, looking for life on other planets, what we're looking for is a form of life. And we don't find that. We don't find it because most atmospheres will not support it. But does that mean that there's no life? Does that mean that there's no energy that we would call life there? We sent people to the moon, for example, and we could say from the scientific search point of view, there is now life on the moon. So let me ask you this, is it possible to have an out-of-body experience when you're on the moon? Do you think? I would think it would be possible for an astronaut to have an experience where they're looking down on their suited up body because they passed out or whatever happened to them. So the part that would be looking down, would that not be supported by life? Would that not be the soul supported by the atmosphere of life? Okay, if that's too much of a stretch, I have read near-death experiences of people who were scuba diving underwater, and they drowned. Something happened and they drowned momentarily. They found themselves outside of their body, looking at their body clothed in scuba diving equipment. So is there not life there that supports that being that is doing the looking? So when we think of God as life, we don't think of it as form. We think of it as being everywhere present. That's very important for us to, as we approach our prayer time. Because usually when we are praying, often when we pray, we're praying with the attitude of absence. Something's missing. And so I pray to have that something brought in. But if I start with the awareness that the universe is complete now, this body, this physical thing that maybe I would like to see manifest may not be here, but the mechanism that supports it is. It's just like what's supporting this body now. The mechanism that is supporting this body is present, but you can't see it. It's invisible. This is sort of abstract thinking, and yet it's not. Because what are you? Are you that thing that looks back at you when you look into the mirror? Or is it the you that, are you the thing that's doing the looking? That's the thing we're looking at. I'm looking at this body in this mirror, but what is it that's doing the looking? That's the real. And we don't see that, we just know it's there. We're conscious. And that's one of the questions science is unable to answer with all of our technology, all of our developments. What is consciousness? Where does it come from? Science doesn't know. They don't have an answer to that. The ones that believe it is the result of the brain, don't know how to answer, how do all these neurons come together to create a being that thinks about what he's going to have for dinner? Where does that come from? You could take all the chemical compounds that our brains and bodies are made of, and you could try to put them all together. You could even shoot it with electricity. Try to generate some kind of activity in that pile of compounds. But you can't create a conscious being. So we are something more than that. And what's interesting, during the candlelighting service, or not candlelighting, but Advent, I used the idea of the prism, how white light shines into the prism, then it's broken up into various colors. And I discovered, because I don't read a lot of William James, the psychologist who was a very profound thinker and somewhat of a mystic, that he used that same illustration. I just discovered that this week. I'm a little slow learner, I guess, but he compared the prism to the brain, that this white light of pure being is shining through this prism. You can actually chip the prism and it'll cause the light to display in different ways. But it doesn't stop the white light. The white light is consistent, it's always there. So the brain could be damaged, but that doesn't mean that the soul, or what we are in our essence, is damaged. You probably all heard stories of people who maybe have had dementia for all their lives, where they couldn't, or many years of their lives, couldn't communicate with anybody. And the day of, or the day before their actual death, they became absolutely clear, sat up and talked, and acted as if nothing even happened, and then they'll pass on from there, and science can't explain that. There's something that is bigger than this body, something that's bigger than the brain, and that something is always present. So that's how we start with our prayer. That's why the meditative side is important, to know what you're praying to, or where you're praying from is maybe a better way to think of that. The consciousness of God. So meditation is an infilling, the deeper realization that you're grounded in God. And so we start out our time of quiet by doing that, by letting go of all this busyness in the mind. And that's not easy, but that's where we need to start. We don't start with the problem. We start basically with the solution. We move into that place in ourselves where, move down to that hub, that axle, that is not spinning with the problem that we are praying about. And we have some degree of peace. We reach some level of peace of knowing that I am now in the presence of God, and the presence of God is in me. So we start with that, and then prayer is the releasing and affirmation. Release and affirmation, it's your means of expressing the life, love, power, and intelligence of God through specific areas of your life. So you look at the picture there. Meditation, first of all, in the upper left-hand corner, shows the reservoir, shows the lake. That's the realization of the wholeness of God. But you come down to prayer, and you have an irrigation canal. On the right-hand side, you have a green field. That's where the water's going. On the left, you have nothing. It's a familiar look. I don't know where this photo was taken, but it could be here. It looks just like some of the places we have here. But it illustrates the idea of denial and affirmation. If you look at the scene on the left, it's dirt. There's nothing there in terms of growing things. All the focus of the water is going to the right. It's going into the field. And so that's what prayer does. It focuses this energy of water or energy of life in a specific direction. It's never a question in the case of irrigation whether there's water or not. Is the answer present? Yes, it's present. So where are we going to direct it? Which direction are we going to send it? So we have this green field. If we wanted to grow something on the other side, where the soil is barren, we could do that as well. But we would have to make some preparations. We would have to turn the focus of our energy in that direction. So with this picture, one side is being denied, or we're releasing our interest in that side. So when you are praying about a problem in your life, you don't want to pretend like it's not there. That's one form of denial, but the type of denial we're talking about is releasing my interest in giving that more energy, whatever the problem is. And how do we give a problem energy? We worry about it. And what is that? What is worry? It's the use of imagination. It's the use of faith. And of course, it's the use of emotion. We're imagining something very bad, or something's not working well, and we would like it fixed. So we're imagining something's broken. And we're pouring our faith into that, which is why we have a negative emotion, a negative emotional reaction. I believe something bad is going to happen, so I have a negative emotional reaction. Okay, do I have control over any of these three things? Imagination, faith, and emotion? That's what prayer is. It's to make an adjustment. Instead of letting my water pour off, and you've probably all seen broken irrigation lines where we walk sometimes over at Matchett Park. That irrigation system looks a lot like this one. It's concrete, and it's old concrete. There are places where it's cracked, and that water will run into the places where it doesn't really need to be, and what happens is you walk by there in the summertime and you get eaten alive by mosquitoes. So you know something's wrong. You got a problem there. So how do you fix that problem? You patch the crack. You deny the water the right to go out that crack. You fix the irrigation system. You fix the crack. And denial is not pretending like, there's no marsh here. There's obviously a marsh, or the mosquitoes wouldn't be here. You don't pretend like that condition doesn't exist. You say there's a crack here, and my energy is running out that direction. and it's causing problems. So prayer would be to patch the crack. It would be a conscious effort to stop my imagination, my faith, and my emotion from running in that direction. But I'm doing that with the understanding that I have all the power, everything I need to become a conduit that will green the field, the area that I want. I focus on what I want rather than what I don't want. And again, it's not an easy transition to make. But this is what it's about. It's like, if you had a broken irrigation line, would you sit there and ask God to fix it? I've done that. It doesn't work. It costs $13,000 to fix this one. I prayed for about 10 years for God to fix it. God said, I can't fix that. That's not my problem. But I've given you a brain, and I've given you, the way to get it fixed. So you could sit and pray about something changing, but if you're still imagining, still worried, still pouring your negative energy into it, you're praying without ceasing, but you're just praying amiss, as James says. Wrong direction. But this is a good illustration to me about what prayer is. It's focus. You want that field to green up, so you put your focus over there. And it's not to say that the other side doesn't exist, because it does. But what do you want to grow? What do you want to see grow in your life? So you can get into all kinds of things with any analogy. But the denial, the release, it just shows the energy is not going over to the left. It's going to the right. And that's really the action of prayer. To deny it is turn your back on the left-hand side of the picture and affirm the right. I want green, whatever that is. Affirmative prayer. Prayer doesn't ask for something from God. Again, I want this crack to be fixed, God. You can ask till you're blue in the face, and I said I have been blue in the face. Think of it as a process of releasing those mental and emotional states that are blocking your good and affirming the truth that unfolds through your quiet times. What is your good? This is another reason why it's important to have a first-hand experience with God. What is your good? It's your state of mind. The highest good is your state of mind. I define love as that energy that dissolves everything unlike itself and draws to us that which is for our highest good. It's a denial and an affirmation. So what is unconditional love? It's when those two conditions are fulfilled. I've read many near-death experience stories of people who say that in that experience, when they are totally free, they have no desire for anything else because they have it all. And there's nothing that needs to dissolve. There's nothing they need to let go of because they've let go of it all of it. And so they have entered a state of absolute bliss. You will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. The truth is love, unconditional love. In the story of the prodigal son, the father is unconditional love. When the young son said, "Give me half your money, I'm going to go waste it," there's no evidence the father tried to talk him out of it. He says, "Sure, here, take it and have a good time." He was as happy then as he was when the son came home. That's unconditional love. He had no need for the son to behave a certain way for him to be happy. So the Father is not necessarily even God. It is the condition of unconditional love. That's what Jesus is illustrating. You have the son that sins, that wastes, and you have the son that says you must walk the straight and narrow, or You're not going to earn it. But the Father is in neither camp, neither one of those. That's unconditional love. So what we are seeking in ourselves is that experience. We talk about our blocking our good. What is blocking our good at this moment? We're perceiving something that is less than what we are in truth. And that's why we're having such a miserable experience. When we let that go, we let things go, we get closer to that condition of unconditional love, where we don't need to draw something more to us or dissolve something that's in our way. Both of those conditions are fulfilled. That's what unconditional love is. If you're in a relationship and you're expressing unconditional love, you're not expecting that person to give you something you lack, to make up for the part of you that's not there, you think. You're seeing yourself as whole, you're seeing that person as whole, you're two people in one healthy relationship. Conditional love is, I want you to fulfill some need that I have. I want you to be the rest of who I think I should be, or who I want to be. What's that saying, you complete me? It's probably the dumbest thing anybody's ever said. Because if you complete me, then you have control of me. And that's not a good situation to be in. You complete me and you're not agreeing with me and you're making me nervous. Quit doing that. Because without you, I'm not complete. It's easy to fall into that kind of thinking. It's easy to do it with a job, with a person, with a group, with just about everything. It's easy to fall into situations where you feel you are not whole unless you're part of that. And that's not the nature of God. The Father did not need the two sons to behave certain ways to be happy. That's unconditional love. It's not really something we achieve. It's what we are at the deepest level. Jesus said, you'll know the truth, and that truth sets you free. Truth is that unconditional state of love, or that state of unconditional love, that neither needs something more or must eject something that's getting in the way. The soul is perfect right now. It's complete. And that's what we're moving toward. So we start with that idea in our time of prayer. I'm complete now. The resolution of this problem is not going to make me any more complete. I want it resolved, yes. I want that crack fixed in the irrigation system. But I start with the idea that I'm already whole, that the problem I'm trying to solve will not make me better, not make me a whole person, because I'll solve that problem and I'll have another one. It never ends as long as we have a physical body. That's another thing William James pointed out about the brain, and I didn't know this, that he believed it actually shuts down our capacity. It shuts it down to the point where we can function on this planet. If we didn't have that filter, if we didn't have that block, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It makes a lot of sense that if your mind is so open to everything at a divine level, that you become intoxicated with that, and it'd be hard to function. So you have to be an idiot to be on this planet. That's really what it amounts to. Okay, let's go on. All right, simple steps. Take your thoughts off the challenge and turn to God in meditation. That's the first simple step. So to do that, as I said last Sunday, it's the Church of Jesus is just go into your quiet room. Go to a place where you won't be disturbed, in other words. Leave your cell phone out. Turn everything off. But go there with the intention of becoming awake, putting God first in that situation that you're worried about. When you close your eyes, you'll be tempted to think about the problem, but with practice, you release your attachment to the negative appearance and experience an infilling of new inspiration. And to do this, don't try to sit down for 30 minutes and release everything. Try it for 5 minutes. Try it for 3 minutes. Try it at all, any experience at all. If you can prove to yourself that I can sit down and find a moment of peace even, then you've proven to yourself that you can do it. There's a point where your attempt to be still is taken up by the presence of God. That is, this natural inspiration rises in you, and it's not an effort to be still. So you may stretch that quiet time from 5 minutes to 10 minutes to 15 minutes to 30 minutes. We're told that Charles Fillmore would meditate up to 6 hours a day. Well, nobody who just starts out would do that or could do that. You'd go crazy trying to do that. But why would somebody do that? It's because they have discovered a level of experience that is intriguing, and they want to go back. They want to go back. So you stop meditating because you have to, and you start meditating because you want to. And when you get to that point, and the only way you get to that point is to have the experience, to begin having experience. And then you want to go back to that point. And when you're in that state of mind, you are for a few moments at least above the fray of the problem. And it's very easy to let go. And you understand how letting go is important. Because if you wait long enough, pretty soon the problem creeps back and you pick it up again. So the denial, the releasing, has occurred, but then you become lax and you fill up again with the problem. Start envisioning the problem. So this is important to remember to go as you go throughout your day. Just kind of monitor, what are you thinking right now? What are you feeling? How are you viewing this situation? Are you reacting to it in a negative way? Do you have anything to say about that? Can you let that go? And you can. Paul said, pray without ceasing. Watch this denial and affirmation process. Watch how you work with it through the day, because that's where it really matters. So take your thoughts off the challenge, turn to God in meditation. When you close your eyes, you'll be tempted to think about the problem. With practice, you can release that and move on to the deeper level. So just a simple couple of sentences to denials and affirmations are not words, but you can put sentences out there. You need to engage in what you're saying, in other words. So a denial or a release is, I now release the energy of this negative appearance. There's nothing to fear. Think of something you're going through at this moment. I now release the energy of this negative appearance. You would actually be thinking about the thing and release that negative energy that you have around it. Let it go to the point where you actually feel lighter as the result of it. There's nothing to fear. I now release the energy of this negative appearance. There's nothing to fear. Let's say that. I now release the energy of this negative appearance. There is nothing to fear. That which is in me is greater than that which is in the world. I am fearless. I am filled with the understanding of what I am to do and how I am to do it. That's kind of a long one, but it's the idea that which is in me is greater than this appearance. Let's say this together. That which is in me is greater than that which is of the world. I am fearless. I am filled with the understanding of what I am to do and how I am to do it. Now just think of that. If you say, I'm filled with this understanding of what I am to do and how I am to do it, why would you need to worry anymore? The answer will come. It may not come till you take that next step. But it's a knowing. That's affirmative. It's a feeling of, I don't know what the answer is at this moment, but when I get over there, I will. When I need it, I'll know it. Just an important attitude. Pray with the assumption that God has already given you all you need to meet the challenge at hand. Before you ask, I will answer. The power behind prayer is the understanding of your inseparable oneness with God, your unfailing source. Okay? It's a consciousness. It's being aware that you have everything you need right now at this moment. All right. So next week I'll focus on another aspect of this whole dynamic. And thank you for coming out. You guys are brave.
2, 3.
You've been watching a talk given by Reverend Doug Bottorff here at Independent Unity in beautiful Grand Junction, Colorado. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. It really helps us spread our message. If you would like to support us, you can do so by clicking the button in the right-hand corner of the video screen. We greatly appreciate your support. Thanks again for watching.